Well, I'm here at Finch Farm and I'm just having a go literally for anything. It is, I can't even get the float right, it's so windy. This was the only fishery I thought I might be able to get to, which is sheltered, and I might have a chance of catching something. It's going to be anything: roach, bream, rudd, perch. They've even got catfish now in here apparently, in this smaller pool they've got here, sort of L-shaped pool. I've thrown in some bread and ground bait. I'm fishing with a float, I'll show you in a second. It's cold, it is what we'll say the back end of winter, and spring should be here, but it's not. It's like winter just doesn't want to let go. So it's been a long old wait through cold weather, and it's still cold. The wind the last 2 days has been huge with rain, and it's just not laid down today. It was supposed to lay down, that's why I came, but I'm in a sheltered spot. I've been fighting with my umbrella for the last, oh, that would look like a nibble, the last 20 minutes. Oh, I definitely had a bite then. So this is literally the first session I've had here from last year. I've thrown some bread out on the surface. Nothing that I've seen come up, but you never know. They say it's too cold. And I'm going to put some luncheon meat out and some worms out on the bottom. Put it on my buzzer bar, which I've got attached to the bottom of my barrow here. You might have seen a film previously where I've adapted the arm of my cart barrow so that I don't have to fight putting rod rests in and everything like that. So I'm going to get that rigged up. Trouble is, I've got to stop watching the float. So in the summer here, there's all these rushes around the edge. They grow up really, really thick and almost like encroach into it. So they've done a good job this winter actually cutting it right back, makes the water look bigger, gives anglers more space. I'm just hoping that I can scratch a few fish out for you guys. Sort of almost a start of the new season, the summer, spring, it's not even summer, spring season I'm looking for. Right, let's get the other rod out, probably put a bunch of lobworms or some luncheon meat on, or just put it on a bite alarm there and see if we can't pick something off. Might be a tough day. So I always bring a couple of loaves of bread, and what I do is just take a slice. I've already thrown some out, the moorhens have taken a bit, and I'm going to go right down this corner because I can throw some bread in here, and if a carp does come up, which is sort of doubtful this temperatures we got, if it does come up, then I've got a chance of seeing the bread be taken from way back there where I'm fishing. It sort of drifts around and finds its own. I've got some around the edges on the far rushes over there, just over the back across there. It's quite a good swim to fish, that one, but I'm going to put a carp bait out now. That's my setup here. I'm going to put a buzzer there. You can see I fix this now. Double glued and tied, so it's rigid, it stays on all the time. I thought, why am I taking it on and off? And when I put my hand underneath, I get my fingers in there to push the barrow. And then I've got my backrest here, just adjusted. It's not a full-on trip for giant fish, but I'm going to put one out, a big bait out, because apparently there are some catfish in here now. I've had a couple of bites here. I'm wondering if I should go to single maggot. I'm bound to get bites when I'm rigging up the other rod. Big reel. I think it's either 15 or 18 pound line. I don't think anybody at this stage has that float. Just definitely trying to dip down there. The rod I'm using is a spinning rod. This one. I like being awkward, as you guys know, so it's white. Well, been a long time coming, and many rigs changed, but I finally saved the blank with a very... Is that a skimmer or is that a roach? Small roach, double red maggot. I've tried worms. At least it saved the blank. I haven't overfed it, or maybe I have overfed it and that's what I've done, killed it off. I went down to a size 20. I'll put a little bit more bread in there. I did go down to a size 20. It was called a Pro Fish, size 20, and £1.5 bottom. The hook was like a 24. It's ridiculous. On a hooked nylon, and had a couple of bites, barely any bites. I had a couple of bites, but on worm. I've got some just garden worms here. I put too much water in there, to be honest, but they're due for today. Look, kind of a bit sad looking. Pieces of worm, and didn't even feel the fish, so I figure they're real small fish. But I've gone to an 18 hook, which is a wider gape, as I feel basically the piece of the worm, even though it's a small piece of worm, was actually masking the hook too much because it was such a fine hook and a small wire. So anyhow, save the blank. I've got luncheon meat on these two because he said there's some catfish in there. One over there, one up there, nothing. I might change this to worm, put a bundle of worms just on the edge of the on the swim there. But it is very, very, very quiet. Well, I'm getting really cold. I haven't put my big coat on yet. Well, I think the highlight of today's trip might be the cook-up. It's really cold. I could put my other anorak on. I'm trying to put it off so I don't get that, what your gran used to say when she used to say, oh, if you put coat on too early, love, you won't feel the benefit of it when you're outside. And it's very true. So nothing's happening. I keep altering the depth of the float. I'm having a lot of trouble plumbing the bottom there, trying to get it exactly right. I feel as though it's something there. I put quite a bit more ground bait in now, assuming maybe those roach are nibbling away at it, but I'm not getting the float sort of over depths to keep it in position, but it's not dragging either way, which would tell me a fish is taking it. I've just thrown another load of bread way back there in the channel, hoping it drifts down. Well, I don't think I'll be moving. Got a couple of 3 hours left. As I say, I think the highlight might be the cook-up. I'm going to change one of these luncheon meats here and put it on a link ledger, or maybe even just a single treble A shot, and put it to the left of that swim with some worms on there. So here is the luxury meal, going to consist of spaghetti bolognese, no surprise there then, but added to it, what you have to do is buy a tin that doesn't have a ring pull, and you have to open it with a penknife. It's regular new potatoes, part cooked. They need warming up, and I'm told by other guys, put it in with the food you're cooking, like down there. So I'm going to drain off the water, and I'm going to shoot them in there, and apparently it'll all heat up and smell very nice. I've no idea, but we're going to give it a go because there's nothing else feeding. I might as well feed myself. So I've mixed it all in, as you can see, stirred it all up, and now I push those spuds down the bottom. That is a pretty substantial meal there. The cost, wow, about £2. Meanwhile, on the fish in front, luncheon meat on the left, I've walked it up and put it right in the corner over there. Nothing. A worm down here in the left of the baited up swim, a single treble A shot, nothing. And the float with double maggots on, nothing. Maybe I'll try a worm on there. Not one other person on the fishery. They've all seemed to have gone home, so I guess over on the windward side, on the larger side, at least I'm out in the wind here, it's one thing, but it's so cold. So they've obviously been a bit biteless and gone home. I feel if it wasn't for that roach, it would be a blank. Well, it's all boiling away here. I've got to let it get warm through those potatoes. I've got that gas turned down about as low as I can get it, to be honest. Right, it's looking good. Well, I've got one of the old army billy cans here, so I'm going to warm that up a little bit just for a second. I find they're better than a plate, because with a plate you got it on your lap, you get a bite, it slides off. Just let that warm up. Bizarre, I'll just put some more ground bait in. It is just so dead, it doesn't bear thinking about. No bubbles, no movements, bow ways, nothing. I put bread down there floating again. Maybe the ducks have had it, but that should warm me up. Warm me up if I drop it all over my legs. Oh my god! You gotta laugh how the meat, look, actually coagulates. There's another little bit of loose feed. That's better. No fish, but as you can see, a decent bit of food there. It's something. Excuse me while I enjoy. Well, wonder of wonders, a different species, a little skimmer. It's something, double red maggot. Actually, if there's catfish in there, you wouldn't want to be reincarnated as one of these guys, would you? Really, seriously, you're going to get gobbled. Strange I'm not getting loads of these guys though. Anyway, 2 fish down, and obviously enjoyable meal. I'm trying to get the camera together, guys. I've got a fish hooked up. I was actually standing up to throw some bread in, and I heard this noise, and the rod was pulling. So that's bizarre. I don't know what it is. It's not a roach. So maybe it will come out with just one good fish. I'm hoping it might be a nice bream. Oh, it's a nice bream. Okay. At least I get to get the net wet. Well, I have to change batteries. I've got him in the net. So at least we've got a fish. At long last. There he is. There is life in the lake. It is indeed a nice bream. Wow, it was a long time coming. So there he is, people. Nice bream. I can't believe how long he was coming, that fish. So, it just goes to show, even though the last one on the lake, don't give up. Let's get him back. And that is exactly how that float stayed. Absolutely motionless. Time to move on to another fishery. Well, to try and salvage something, I've come to totally different fishery. It's Whatmore fishery. This is deep water, because I can't understand how I wasn't getting fish. I really struggled at Finch, and that's quite shallow. So I'm thinking maybe it's a drop in the temperature. Is it the pressure system? I don't know. So I'm here anyway to try it on the edge of the drop-off, just to see what I can catch. Sort of put my mind at rest. I think that's what it is. I can still. Oh, I've got a bite on a float there. Still catch something. I've got worm on one. I've got 3 maggots on the other. I guess it's going to be roach. I'm kind of hoping for a perch, but listen, there was nothing last time at the other fishery. That one bream, boy, was it cold. I've had to put the brolly up. I'm on a bank that I never fish normally. This is the northerly bank, but it's a northeast or northwest. I think it's a northwesterly airflow. So that's pushing off this side. The fish really should be over that side. That's where I normally would fish. But I just fancied the wind off my back. I got sick and tired of getting cold in the wind. I'm fishing down by some rushes down there. I'm getting little dippy bites, so I know there's fish here. I've just chucked some ground bait in, pinch of maggots, and a single lobworm down here. just for a perch in case. But I'm getting the float just going up and down like this. So I figured something down there. Look, you've got to give it a go, but I'm just wondering, with the deeper water here, I'm about 5 feet deep, I'd say, and I'm only a rod length or so out on the edge of the slope of the gravel, where they, obviously one assumes dredged it. The temperature should be more constant, so I'm figuring the fish should feed. Who knows? I'm giving it a go, guys. I can do no more than that. Sloppy old ground bait left over from the last fishery. It's been wet for a couple of 3 days, so that's definitely going to sink. I'm fancying a piece of worm there. There's a bite, I'll get little bites. So it popped away then. What the hell happened there? I missed the fish and the lot fell off the rod rest. This is the patented rod rest, which I'm having trouble with because I've got the camera lead here, so I'm going to spin that camera over the other side like this. Let's move this for you people. I keep having to put my worms underneath the chair because my feet kick them and they're all over the place, and I don't have many maggots either, really, just left over. So let's pull that up. But listen, he's got stagings here, and the idea of me altering that barrow, you might have seen it in the film previously, how I pimped my carp barrow. And you can see I've made a stand at the back and I've got the arm at the front. Works a treat. I can sit way back, shelter, and fingers crossed actually get to show you guys a fish. Wind, this last winter, wind. I bumped a fish. I did feel a fish when it all fell to pieces on me. And I've gone purposely slightly over depth because, oh, there it goes. I've gone purposely slightly over depth. With the wind, I don't want it dragging. I don't want it dragging through the swim because the wind's going right to left, and that's going to pull me into those rushes, which I really don't need. Got some sweet corn somewhere as well. I quite fancy some sweet corn. Well, I'm one fish towards better than I was before, with a nice Watmore roach. That's a good one. So that was worth a move, and I went from corn to maggot, back to corn, maggot again, and a small worm. Right hand one as well. I threw one ball of ground bait in, rod length out, and followed it straight up where you can see the ring that it makes. So this is a way to do it. Chuck that in. As it makes a ring, and follow up with your bait, then you know you're going down with the bait. A lot of time I have seen people, especially beginners, they throw the ground bait in and then they go and do something else, and then they cast out where they think they put the ground bait. Now if you put the ground bait here and you cast over there, at distance it looks pretty much the same, but the fish are feeding here, they're not over there. So you need to, especially margin fishing, which is good practice for it, is get your ground bait, throw it in, and while that ring is still on the surface, like a bullseye, like a target, just drop yours straight in there, and fingers crossed it helps you out get a fish. There we go, that's a little bite. That's the float, like this, just coming up a bit, because you have a red top to it and a white neck, if you like. If you've got it shotted, oh, it's nearly going. If you've got it shotted down to the red, if you can see the white, then you know something's got it and moved it up, and I think that's what's happening there. I think they're roach, and I think they're messing around with the bait, with the worm. Got a big lobworm on here, and they're probably tugging away at that. If you don't get anything, don't be afraid to give it a little bump. Just like that. The fish are in the swim, sometimes it will attract them, that movement. It's gone horrible now. I had a horrible day at the other lake. I hope I'm not going to have a horrible day. Well, not a day, it's an afternoon, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't think as many fisheries are actually started in the morning, to be honest. Well, I've been bouncing baits between worms, bread, corn, and I've gone back to maggots. Red maggots there, all over the lens. Look at that. It's a smith fish. Red maggots, nice little roach. I did hit one fish which I bumped off wasn't a carp, I don't feel. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I'd hate to think it was a big roach or a big perch. I haven't fed a lot of maggots yet because at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? You don't know, are they taking any maggots on the way down? Should I be fishing further up? Anyway, I'll give them a pinch. Don't say I never give them anything. Sometimes the float just drifts to the right. Yeah, sometimes the float is just dragging very, very slowly to the right. And it may be that I'm actually off the bottom because I've messed around with it about 3 times now, shallowing it, so I'm trying to get it so I get a good bite, you know. Especially in the winter like this, late afternoon. So you could sit all day waiting for a 2-hour feeding spell. There's a bite. Well, I've made like a subtle change because I'm doing no good at all. I've got 2.2 hook link here, right? I've moved the shot away about 3 inches from the hook. And the hook I was using, because there are carp in here, was, don't even know the name of it. Very wide gape, quite thick. Looked about 12, maybe a 12, something like that. So I've gone down now to 16, but it's a much lighter wire. And I think it's making the maggot, I've got double maggot on now, sink a lot slower, because I've had 1, 2, 3 roach, small ones though, on the trot pretty well. So I'm figuring just the weight of that thick wire hook is messing the bait somehow for the roach, because they're right picky feeders, roach. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Now, they've stopped that. I'm going to get a bite any second now. See if I can get this one. Right, I'm on. But just to show you, I cannot believe, even for me, I've been fishing years, Matchman tell us, has that made the difference? Look, it's only a small fish. I'm going to catch smaller ones on maggots nearly always, all the time. But the thing is, surely not just the weight of the hook has made that difference, because that's like 4 roach now. Is it because it's sinking? I'm not loose feeding, so I'm not bringing the roach up in the water layer, or the water column, as they like to say. I'm not feeding loads. So I'm kind of sort of curious. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining because I'm catching. I'm just saying, it has to be, the size of the hook is smaller, a little bit, maybe a bit sharper, but see, I'm getting bites now. I think it's the weight of the wire. It's maybe sinking more naturally. I think the wire is too thick on that other hook, sinking too fast. It's just hanging or just resting on the bottom. I don't really want to know. The lighter wire, smaller size, they seem to like. Whether I'm going to get a bigger fish on it, who knows. Meanwhile, back to lobworm on the ledger. Not much at all. A few beeps and that's it. In fact, to be honest, I haven't seen a fish come out yet. 1 carp, I think, up there, gentleman came out. I think he had a 9-pounder, that's good. Well, the setup's fine. I would expect to get line bites on this right-hand one. You can see the bobbin's just absolutely motionless. My float is right just down through there. I'll have to bump it, because I've either lost a shot or it's resting on something. Oh, there's a bite, it's come right up now. Because as I come in shallower up the bank, the last shot is going to rest on the gravel, and it's going to make the float come up. I might try something different in a minute. That's some maggots. They weren't particularly great maggots, but I put some bran in there, and that they were sort of sweating up, as it were, and that's given them a good bit of scouring, and they are much more active than they were. Let's give them a pinch. I'm supposed to be fishing at another place tomorrow, so I'm trying to save bait, if that makes sense. I'm just going to walk up and throw that out. A little bit of corn. A little bit of corn as well there. They've got plenty of ground bait out there, trust me. Be glad when all this weather settles down. I think that's what's unsettling the fish, because in a way, this fishery now, I thought I'd come here, it's going to be really good being deeper water. No, it's exactly the same. The fish are just very, very picky. Now, whether it's cold water and they're just somewhere else, or are they in that swim and they're just laying static like this and not feeding, you can't tell. If you're getting bites, you can keep feeding. I mean, I'm feeding anyway. You know, I'm just assuming that these small roach this size are in fact eating everything I'm throwing in. Now look, I'll just throw maggots and sweet corn in, I'm going to bite. Funny old game, this fishing. Very, very quiet over there. That's why I should have fished over there into the wind. But I just didn't fancy it. The last couple of trips have been cold, windy and horrible, drizzly. So I thought I'm going to have a nice, comfortable session. Unfortunately, I'm a bit too comfortable. There's nothing happening. See, my float must have risen up about an inch there. I'm just going to bump it once. The fish have moved it. I don't know what to do on the shotting pattern. Maybe I should put the shot about this far from the hook so I know it's tight between the float and the bait. And that's 2 maggots. Well, another small one on, guys. I know they all count. And a little drop back bite on that lobworm there. So there you go. I'm getting the fish, but very picky. Well, let's get that one out. The sun's come out at long last. I don't fancy putting the brolly down just yet. I'm just seating forwards here so I can get a little bit of warm sunshine. I think I'm going to give it another half an hour, and I'm probably going to take a gamble and pump some ground bait in again, because these little roach like this will be eating their way through that ground bait. What to do with the lobworm, I do not know. Just leave it, I guess, in the hope of a perch. Now, I'm going to try a cocktail bait now, guys. That is a classic tench bait, a single grain of sweet corn and a nice piece of worm. Let's give that a try. What I'll do is show you how I've done it before. Just a handful of bait like this, and right in the middle of that ring I'll drop in my bait. So as the ground bait goes down, the worm and corn's going to follow it. I'll be resting on the top. That's how I do a lot of margin fishing like that. And then that way you know you're right where you put your ground bait. I'm also using a match rod. Oh, I know what it is. That's the bad luck. The net should always go on the left hand side. Now I'm going to hit a good fish, boy. Now I hopefully will hit a good fish, because the net is on the right side of the swim. That was why it was. It was on a bad luck side. Is anybody else superstitious out there? I'm going to get a decent fish in a minute, I can tell you. I've moved the net there. In fact, even that's not quite right. It needs to be just on the edge there. You think I'm joking, people? I'm not. I'm so much more confident. Well, I've gone down a single maggot, and I'm actually gone as close to the rushes as hang on a minute, as I dare, because I'm just thinking there might have been something like a roach there in close. And they are indeed close, but a single maggot does it. But smaller size of fish. I think we'll try that one again. I mean, I'm catching more fish than I did the other day, that's for certain. It's definitely, they're not on the bite like they should be. The bigger roach aren't, that's for certain. I don't think I'm going to waste the time feeding all my maggots here. I think I'll save those for tomorrow. I might try sweet corn. Yeah, I'm getting, one assumes a bigger fish are near the bottom, I don't know. And I'm about 2 feet from the first of those rush stems. The closer I get to them, more chance of a snag, but I feel there's more fish close in there. Definitely single maggot. They must be very, very picky today. So I'm getting a small roach now. Oh yeah, a lot of small fish. I think they're actually stopping that number 8 shot on the way down. Ah, big roach on, I feel, guys. Way better roach. That looks a bit like a rudd, that one. That's a rudd. I'll take a gamble and swing him out. There we go. So, single maggot. Look at that one, lovely colour fish. You can see the lovely colours on the fins there. Pretty little fish, almost ornamental, aren't they? And you can see the gold, even on this cloudy day. So nice rudd. Well, I'm picking a few fish off now, but that could be just the fact it's getting late afternoon. Or just about a swinger. Just about. And that's double red maggot there. Very, very, very quiet by the cart guys over there. Guy's just been standing, now the guy's sitting. Go over the other side, I think. I'm not even sure he's still alive. he hasn't moved. He hasn't moved for 3 hours. I've got quite a decent roach here on ooh. Graeme using the net. Oh, look at that one. That's roach of the day. A longer wait between bites, but you can see a much better, fatter fish here. And there's the worm, small worms. The last couple of 3 trips I've had, the float has absolutely, totally outfished the ledger. And I've now got this ledger in the same swim. I've moved it from here, I've moved it across. So I am getting roach. I've had about another 10 or 15, but they've all been small. That's the biggest, been the biggest one. I think I'll stick with this worm and see out the last 30 minutes. I'm going to try another combo here. I'm going to use a worm. Just hook it twice like that so the tail wiggles, and I'm going to put a top off of a couple of maggots, 3 maggots, if I can get them on the hook. It's always difficult trying to film with a camera in your head because you have to tilt your head way forward. This is the final throw of the dice, and I put the worm back on the hook like that. There we go, so it's a worm and maggot combo. Let's see if we can drop that in the swim. Finally the sun's come out. I'm going to go on the outside of the swim this time. I'm going to wait a little bit longer for a bite on the worm. But you do, I find, I certainly found this last winter, you get a better stamp of fish on it. I've certainly had more bites. About 20 or 30 roach, albeit just one decent sized one and that rudd. I talked to a gentleman that's just packing up there. He said struggled all day, been his early morning, had 2 small skimmer bream and that's it. I've seen the other gentleman over there catch. I've seen that man, as I say, I don't know if he's still alive. He might have been there for 4 or 5 weeks. Nobody's asked him to, oh, hang on. What's Christ, I wasn't even watching then, Graeme. What is this? What the heck is this one? Doesn't feel like a carp. It must be a carp. Oh, look at this roach. I told you I'd put the net in the lucky place. This is what I've been waiting for. Hopefully it doesn't ping off, because this is a real nice fish. Yeah, that's a nice one. That is fish of the day. Well, there you go, guys. It did pay off. Look at this one. Let's get it on the mat. It's a mat job. Come meet Matt, my friend. There we go. On the worm, just there. Just nicked on it. That is a fat fish, look, is it not? What a beauty. Got his fin up as well. Oh, it's lovely in that sun. Exactly, that's what I think. Well, that was the result, wasn't it, people? Beautiful. Great big fat roach. I love it. Well, that's made that trip. Ah, it could be worm and time of day, guys. There's another nice roach. And he's come off. Well, I've had 2 carp in a row bump off, guys. I've definitely hooked a carp here this time. How long he's going to stay on, I don't know. If he goes to the left, I'm done. And he's going to the left. Well, the last couple of trips have been a struggle, but I might come out of it. I was well pleased with that roach. You never know, you never know. Strange things happen at sea. I'm going to pull this one out of the way, just in case I get a bit close. I might have a chance. Very fine wire hook. Could do without him going left. I like to see him. The other 2 fish, I've got a feeling they might have been fouled, I don't know, but this one is hooked up all right at the moment, but how I'll bend on this rod. Nah, that one feels fouled as well. It's a sort of juddery fight, I can't dare. That feels like a tail hooked fish. And the last 2 bumped straight off, stripped me out and bumped off. I think the fish are in there digging. They're not eating the worm. Yeah, it's definitely 100% foul hook fish. I say I'm probably going to lose this one. I might be able to get him up enough for you to have a look at it. Or not. Perhaps not. I haven't got many turns on the reel yet. You can get a 4-pound carp. If it's hooked near the tail, it fights like a 10 or 15 pounder. Let's have a look at it. It's worth taking a bit of time when you get a decent fish on the last knockings. Light line, 2.2 I'm on. Imagine this if you were in a match. This is your winning fish. Oh, there's the float. My goodness, you'd be nervous, wouldn't you? Let's have a look at it. No, I can't see it. I've got about 5 feet depth there anyway. No, that feels... I'm going to say this is hooked towards the tail, guys. Definitely foul hook. There's the tail. Looks like a mirror carp. And the sun has finally come out. This is going to be a son of a gun to net. Not a big fish, as I said. But I've got him. Now I'll show you where he was hooked, just out of interest. Oh yeah, it's a nice mirror. So they're in the swim, digging around. That's how I could tell. Look, right in the back by the tail. Fell out. Got a nice looking carp there. Pretty one there. Well, people, that turned around nicely right at the end. Look, why couldn't we have had this weather? The wind drops, the sun comes out. The net was in the right place. The worm, as you can see, is just a tiny worm. It's just bizarre. So they're in the swim digging around, but it's like they're not taking the worm, because I think the last 2 I had, or lost, the last 2 I lost were pretty much the same sort of fights. So they're down there, they're digging around, but they're not taking, they're bumping in the line, give me what we call a false bite. I'll come stand up here. This has been working a treat, this. You can see with the float, isn't it? It just sinks slowly, slowly, slowly as that shot and the weight of the worm goes down. Well, I've put the last bit of ground bait in. I'll put the last bit of ground bait in, last bit of maggots. I've got to save a bit of bait for you. I haven't got much here. I haven't used a huge amount today. Hopefully there's a chance of one more fish. Here he goes. There goes the float. Just going down to that white tip, and the red part is just about going underwater. Just got to be patient when you're fishing float or ledger with a worm. Oh, I've got a decent roach on again, guys. There he comes. Not quite a netter. That was on the worm. So, turned into a pretty reasonable session, I think you'll agree. Look, fat as you want. There we go. One last cast. Well, hopefully there's quite a few tips in there. Albeit, I shot that one, what was it? Late winter, early spring, that sort of time. The tips there are well worth watching because they might help you out even through the summer, the autumn, the rest of the year. Now, to close out here, I went to my local, and it is peak summer as I make this film. I went to my local sort of, what is it, village fair, village carnival. They've got an old car section there. And I've been meaning to film it for years. I never have. Now, some of you people out there, I know, are of the age that they appreciate the old cars. And of course, you've got to think of fuel nowadays. What did they pay for fuel back then? Probably about 10 shillings a gallon or something crazy. Who can remember what we used to pay for fuel back in the late 50s and 60s? I can't. Anyway, put a few tracks of music with this, sit back, relax, and look at some of the old vintage vehicles there. Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they, really?
It's the chance that you've been waiting for. It's the light coming through the cracks. When life shows an open door, come on, step through. A chance like the purest gold. Come on, come on. When life shows an open road, you know you should ride. Forget what you've been told and ride this open road. This open road. This open road. Boom, boom, that knock on your door. It's sounding further away. Don't lose sight, life was times before. This is now today. When life shows an open door, come on, step through. A chance like the purest gold. Come on, come on. When life is an open road, you know you should ride. Forget what you've been told and ride this open road. When life shows an open door, come on, step through. A chance like the purest gold. Come on, come on. When life is an open road.
It's got what these old cars are like, how unreliable they were. But now it's got a lovely sound. How long have you had her? So when you got it,
Forget what you've been told and ride this open
Well, I enjoyed looking at that old stuff. Listen, it's not going to be around forever, guys. It's nice that someone is out there recording it. I'm quite happy to do it, fairly local to me, and I find it quite interesting, almost relaxing. Look at that old stuff. I don't know, it's the workings of them. I suppose because at school, that's what we were taught. You know, the workings of the engine, the manifold, the crankshaft, all that business. I mean, I couldn't strip one down, obviously, but I know the makings. I could do you a sketch of the bulk of how a car works with transmissions, universal joints, all that, diffs and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope it's passed a little bit of time for you. I'm going to go for some more of these split films where they got a little bit of interest and a little bit of something totally different. Because once that footage is gone, it's gone. We'll see you guys in the next film. It's not going to be long, is it? This is a Wednesday film. 48 hours time, they're going to be a fishing film. See you in that one.